There, didn't you?
No, just 58.
Just 58?
Yeah. Then I got hooked up with John Seeley racing at Skyline and Stateline.
What were some of the other tracks around at that time in the mid to late 50s? This was not the only one.
No, there was quite a few of them around, but Rollerball and Stateline, I used that car at Stateline, had 100-lap demolition race, not demolition, but just 100-lap jalopy races. Mm-hmm. And of course, I worked at Stateline for quite a while lining up cars. And so Leonard Briggs, I went up there with that jalopy and he put me up towards the front. And there must have been 100 cars at that doggone race. And so here I am leading the race. And the only time in the history of Stateline, the lights go out. So that didn't turn out too good.
Really? They didn't call the race? Or they called the race?
Oh yeah.
And they didn't let you
get the power back on.
And they didn't let you win? You didn't win?
No, they come back next week.
Oh, nice. That's great. You then had a career at Stateline.
I raced with John Seeley up there until he quit. And then Len Briggs said, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, why don't you come to work for us? Line up the cars. So there, and then they started Erie Speedway. So I worked lining up cars out there too. Line them up Saturday night here and go to Erie on Sunday night and line them up. I did that for about 10, 12 years.
Did you get a chance to kibitz much with the drivers?
Oh, God. Ronnie Blackmer and the sportsman, he'd come to me and he'd say, how come you put me in the back? Last week, remember I got spun out and ended up way back and now you still put me in the end. I said, yeah, you're at the end all the time because you'll be at the front before you know it. Raspy.
Who else was the guys that were characters?
Oh, God. They were all characters that were in race cars.
Tom Dill. Talk to me about Tom Dill.
Oh, crazy. Crazy man. He was fun but you just didn't want to be racing with him. Yeah. But when he was out of his race car, he was a great guy. He'd laugh and joke and heck, he'd spin you out. And then he'd come into pits and joke with the guy he spun out, But Tom was a great guy. Heck of a driver.
Tom Dill. What we did 50 interviews of drivers who drove late models during that first 10 years at Stateline Speedway. And we would always conclude with saying, if you were leading at the last lap, who's the guy you least wanted to have?
Tom Dill.
Yeah, they all said Tom Dill.
You didn't want him near you. John Seeley, I owned his stock car for many years. We were partners in it. And whenever he got near Tom Dill, I'd get all excited. Slow down or speed up, just get away from Tom.
But that's a consistent answer. Who else? You talked about John Seeley, Squirt Johns.
Oh, he was a great guy. Down from Brockway.
Yep.
He towed a long way every week, but he was a class act. Real good race driver.
Jim Pollaro.
Oh, Jim. I knew Jim since I was a kid. He first started racing at Stateline, driving Hudson for Gust Johnson, Kenny Johnson's father, up at Skyline. And that's when he first started racing. Gust had two cars. Kenny drove one and Jim Pollaro drove the other one.
I know he had a colorful language. And another segue, you'll see Jim Pollaro, my interview with him, and the interview was very funny. But when I had to edit it for public consumption, it took forever to be able to sort of extricate the appropriate words. So no need to comment in the church here. Sammy LaMancuso.
Oh, great guy, Sammy. Another class act.
You are something. I mean, this is really great. How long were you at Stateline then?
I was there the night they opened. We was there till 4 o'clock in the morning, pushing cars out of the parking lot. They were all stuck.
This is 1956.
1956, June. Yeah.
And
The parking lot it had rained previously the whole week, and that no one had ever parked in that parking lot before. It was just a field, and they put the cars in there, bumper to bumper. They went to leave the racetrack, and they all sank in the mud. Every car had to be towed out to the road with a tractor.
what a start.
Oh boy, what a mess.
What was the most memorable evening? I mean, you were out there again lining them up, and at times it just got to be, I'm sure, pretty chaotic. But what was that kind of magic event or magic race where you said, aha, I remember that one?
That was the one I remember most is the NASCAR race with Lee Petty, because I was a 57 Olds man, and this was in 58. NASCAR came up there, and Lee Petty was driving a 57 Oldsmobile, and a guy won it in a Ford from Texas. I can't think of his name right now because Lee Petty was way ahead of everybody. Well, Squirt Johns was 5 laps ahead of everybody with his car, but it was a long race. I don't know, 50 or 100 lapper, and Squirt had lapped Lee Petty at least 5 times, and all he had to do was slow down, and he'd have won the race. But he had to keep his foot in it, and pretty soon his right ball joint went, and his front wheel went off, and so the NASCAR guys ended up winning because they just took their time, and it was a long race, and they endured.
It must have been kind of neat to have the NASCAR guys here.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Not many showed up because a week before they raced at Bradford, Pennsylvania, and the guys didn't like the track and a whole bunch of stuff they got in. So only half of the NASCAR guys showed up at Stateline.
Yeah.
So they asked, Petty went around and asked Leonard Briggs, can any of the local guys, would they race with us? And I know I was with John Seeley in the stands, and they come up and said, can you guys get your car here? Heck yeah. So Paul Wilson, John Seeley, a whole bunch of guys got their cars, and NASCAR let them. First of all, the guy from NASCAR said, no, they can't run. They're not members of NASCAR. Mm-hmm. And Lee Petty says, they don't have to be members. Forget it. And he says, well, their cars don't correspond with NASCAR rules. They can't run. And Lee Petty says, yes, they can. Get out of here. He needed cars.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Howie Paulson, let's give him a nice hand. This is great.